The teacher noticed a student zoning out in class and was ready to give him a good scolding, but in the next second, that boy was Myung-hoon, a top-tier agent. Forced into becoming a spy to save his sister, he had left North Korea and infiltrated South Korea as a high school student. However, on his very first day at the new school, he caught the attention of the school bully. The bully, trying to get Myung-hoon's attention, began harassing a girl during break time. However, Myung-hoon had no interest in paying him any attention. Myung-hoon's indifference only fueled the bully's anger, and soon after, he was dragged to the rooftop.
Remix.
Despite the rising tension, Myung-hoon, due to his secret identity, didn't fight back. Sensing weakness, the bully pushed further, snatching Myung-hoon's wallet and hurling insults. As the bully rummaged through the wallet, he found a photo. Looking closely, he began to suspect that Myung-hoon might not be a local. Myung-hoon quickly snatched the photo back. It was his most treasured possession. Just as the situation reached a boiling point, the school's headmaster appeared. Breaking up the confrontation, the bully, still full of bravado, had no idea that without the headmaster's interruption, he might not have lived to tell the tale. When Myung-hoon returned home that night, he received a mysterious package. Inside was a phone. It was a mission from his superiors. Tensions between North and South Korean agents had escalated into brutal infighting, with each side vying for control. The most dangerous among them was a ruthless agent codenamed Polaris, who had already taken out several key members of Myung-hoon's organization in just 3 days. His orders were clear: locate Polaris and eliminate him. The next day, Myung-hoon visited a small bakery where the remaining core members of his team were hiding. After exchanging a few code words, they handed him a pistol. With the weapon in hand, Myung-hoon followed up on a lead from an informant and tracked down one of Polaris's associates. After an intense fight, the hefty man was subdued. Myung-hoon demanded to know Polaris's whereabouts, but the man claimed ignorance. Then, in the blink of an eye, the man pretended to give in, but as he spoke, he deliberately stumbled, grabbing a nearby chair and swinging it at Myung-hoon. But a top-tier agent like Myung-hoon wasn't someone easily taken down. After dealing with the threat, Myung-hoon returned to school. As soon as he walked in, he saw Hye-in being bullied. A group of students, led by the same bullies, were heartlessly throwing trash at her. Hye-in shared the same name as Myung-hoon's sister, so he couldn't stand by. He walked over and quietly helped her pick up the garbage, leaving Hye-in deeply moved. Later, during biology class, Myung-hoon appeared lost in thought. The teacher suddenly called on him to answer a question.
야, 전학생. 이 18번 문제 풀어봐봐.
Wanting to repay him for his earlier kindness, Hye-in tried to discreetly show him the answers. To her surprise,
X 염색체가 하나만 있는 터너 증후군 아이가 부인의 염색체에 있는 정록 생명을 가지고 태어났다면 보기에 니은과 디귿이 맞는 상황이므로 정답은 5번입니다.
Myung-hoon turned out to be a hidden genius, effortlessly solving the question on his own. Hye-in's admiration for him grew even stronger. After school, Myung-hoon tracked down another associate of Polaris. With some intimidation, he managed to extract Polaris's location. The next morning, Myung-hoon waited at a parking lot for his target to appear. Sure enough, Polaris showed up. Myung-hoon followed him on a motorcycle, tailing him quietly. When the traffic light turned red, Myung-hoon saw his chance to strike, but Polaris, a seasoned veteran, sensed something was off. He floored the gas pedal and sped away, with Myung-hoon in hot pursuit. Not wanting to let Polaris escape, Myung-hoon pulled out his silenced pistol and shot out the tires of Polaris's car. The car lost control and crashed into a barrier. Myung-hoon dismounted, pulled his hat low, and prepared to finish the job. But at that moment, a group of students on a nearby bus, intrigued by the crash, started filming the scene with their phones. If he acted now, his cover would be blown. Myung-hoon had no choice but to let Polaris go for the moment. He returned to school, only to hear the bullies laughing inside the gym. Once again, they were tormenting Hye-in. This time, They had taken the hard-earned money she had made from her part-time job, the money she needed to sign up for dance classes. Hye-in was determined to get it back, but before she could fight back, the bullies yanked at her clothes, leaving her terrified and shaken. Outside the gym, Myung-hoon could no longer hold back. He kicked open the door and stormed in. In a matter of moments, the bullies were left battered and bruised. Crawling on the ground, Myung-hoon had avenged Hye-in and returned her money, standing tall as her silent protector. That afternoon, Hye-in didn't show up to school, while Myung-hoon was still wondering why Hye-in hadn't shown up. The homeroom teacher walked toward him.
너 밖에 나가서 무릎 꿇고 서 있어.
Meanwhile, the severely injured bullies, now sitting at dinner, were seething with rage, with multiple fractures. Even lifting their hands to eat was a struggle. They swore to get revenge on Myung-hoon, but before they could even finish their threats, Myung-hoon appeared. They immediately hurried to clear a seat for him.
혜인이 일하는 곳 어딘지 알지?
Myung-hoon had already made up his mind to take time off and go look for Hye-in. Having witnessed Myung-hoon's ferocity in class before, the teacher didn't hesitate and granted him a 3-day leave. After a few days of searching, Myung-hoon found Hye-in. She revealed that she had dropped out of school to pursue her dream of becoming a dancer. Needing to work to pay for dance lessons, Myung-hoon supported her decision. They talked late into the evening. Hye-in had lost her parents at a young age and had grown up alone. Much like Myung-hoon, originally from North Korea, had foster parents assigned to him by his organization. When he was a child, his father, also a spy, was falsely accused, leading to a failed mission and his tragic murder. Myung-hoon and his sister were imprisoned because of their father's actions. To save his sister, Myung-hoon volunteered to take over his father's mission and became a spy for the North. Once a kind-hearted boy, he had gradually become a cold, lethal tool for his organization. Meanwhile, Polaris, bent on revenge, had tracked down Myung-hoon's foster parents. He discovered through his underlings that they possessed a stash of diamonds worth billions. Without hesitation, Polaris and his crew stormed the foster parents' house. When Polaris pulled out a silenced gun, the woman of the house realized what was happening. It was a death sentence. They were taken upstairs, where the foster father was obliviously listening to music. One of Polaris's men rushed to the safe and, right in front of the husband, entered the code. As the safe opened, stacks of cash and the diamonds came into view. At that moment, the husband finally noticed Polaris.
건드리면 그 즉시 전쟁이야.
With the job done, Polaris ordered his men to leave. Staying behind himself, he was certain Myung-hoon would return soon, and he wasn't going to leave until he had settled the score from their previous encounter. Sure enough, it wasn't long before Myung-hoon arrived on his motorcycle, but with his keen instincts, Myung-hoon sensed something was wrong the moment he stepped. Polaris couldn't match Myung-hoon's skills. Myung-hoon disposed of the murder weapon in the microwave, then cut the gas line to destroy all evidence. He set the house on fire, burning it to the ground. Exhausted and with nowhere else to go, Myung-hoon made his way to a secret rendezvous point of the organization. After exchanging the code, an elderly woman, also a spy, recognized him as a member of the group. She took him in and made him a bowl of delicious soup, but before he could even take a bite, Myung-hoon collapsed from his injuries. The next morning, the explosion and fire caught the attention of the police. When they arrived at the scene, they found a school badge among the wreckage. Through their investigation, they uncovered the truth. Myung-hoon was a North Korean defector, and both his foster parents had been spies. A few days later, Myung-hoon received another secret package. He suspected it was a new mission from his superiors. Sure enough, The phone inside the package rang moments later. The orders were clear. Myung-hoon had to retrieve the diamonds that Polaris and his men had stolen. The message came with a powerful incentive: complete this mission, and he would finally reunite with his beloved sister. Staring at the photo of his sister on the screen, Myung-hoon didn't hesitate. That afternoon, following his superior's instructions, Myung-hoon infiltrated the enemy's base alone. At that very moment, the enemies were in the middle of a diamond deal with a high-ranking official. Without a word, Myung-hoon stormed in, guns blazing. In the chaos, a bespectacled man ordered his subordinates to hold off Myung-hoon while instructing the official to escape immediately. But before they could get far, a grenade was hurled through the window, exploding and leaving everyone on the floor. The man with glasses was the only one still conscious, struggling to his feet. He grabbed the briefcase containing the diamonds and fled, knowing he wouldn't make it far with his injuries. Desperate, he found a place to hide, but just as he crouched down, after completing the mission, Myung-hoon went to a shop and bought a vintage sweater and a hairpin as gifts for the elderly grandmother who had taken care of him, and for his little sister, whom he would soon reunite with. The grandmother was overjoyed when she received the sweater, knowing she might never return to her homeland due to her secretive background. Myung-hoon urged her to take care of herself. After bidding farewell to Hye-in, Myung-hoon boarded a ship, eager to return home and reunite with his sister. But just as he settled in, before he could even relax, he was betrayed. One of his comrades attacked him. Through gritted teeth, Myung-hoon asked why. The comrade coldly replied,
어려서 그랬지.
Though devastated, Myung-hoon knew he couldn't die now. In a fierce struggle, he managed to turn the tables, killing his former ally. Severely wounded, Myung-hoon dragged his battered body to seek refuge once again with the grandmother. However, as soon as he reached the streets, he saw a group of police officers surrounding her. Her cover had been blown. In the confusion, the grandmother spotted Myung-hoon from a distance.
아직도 여기서 얼쩡거리네.
Her words struck a nerve, causing the officer in charge to suspect something was amiss. Sensing the danger, the grandmother made a bold sacrifice to create a diversion, giving Myung-hoon a chance to escape. He managed to slip away, but he was now a man abandoned by his country, with nowhere left to turn. With no other options, he sought refuge with the only person he could still trust, Hye-in. After helping Myung-hoon clean his wounds, Hye-in soon saw the news on TV, revealing Myung-hoon's true identity. Fearing that he would put her in danger, Myung-hoon, now awake, attempted to leave despite his pain, but Hye-in stood in his way, refusing to let him go. Meanwhile, at the airport, behind the scenes, the mastermind Moon Sang-chul had brought Myung-hoon's sister to South Korea. He called Myung-hoon, demanding that he immediately hand over the diamonds worth billions, or his sister would be killed. Hearing this, Myung-hoon finally understood everything. He had been nothing more than a tool all along. The country he trusted most was now using his sister to blackmail him for a handful of diamonds. Unable to suppress his anger any longer, Myung-hoon vowed to take matters into his own hands, seeking revenge and rescuing his sister. Leaving a note and a photo at Hye-in's house, Myung-hoon headed straight to confront Moon Sang-chul, carrying the diamonds with him.
애부터 먼저 보여주십시오.
When he saw his sister safe and sound, he was ready to exchange the diamonds for her freedom. Little did he know that a man behind him had already drawn a gun, aiming to take him out. At that critical moment, the police burst onto the scene, shooting the gunman. An hour earlier, after reading Myung-hoon's note and fearing he might fall into a trap, Hye-in called the police. With the sound of gunfire, a fierce battle erupted between the police and the criminals. Moon Sang-chul and his men quickly found themselves at a disadvantage. Sensing the danger, Moon Sang-chul's top henchman wasted no time, grabbing Hye-in and fleeing in a car. Myung-hoon gave chase, but fortunately, the police had already surrounded the area. His sister was rescued, and Myung-hoon could finally breathe a sigh of relief. But as a wanted man, he couldn't afford to be captured. Myung-hoon quickly turned and disappeared into the night. Later that evening, he received another call from Moon Sang-chul, who arrogantly demanded the diamonds once more. It turned out that Moon Sang-chul had captured Hye-in. Determined to save her, Myung-hoon once again faced Moon Sang-chul alone. After confirming Hye-in's safety, Myung-hoon handed over the diamonds. As the gunfire rang out, a fierce shootout erupted between both sides. Outnumbered, Myung-hoon was quickly overwhelmed. Seeing this, Moon Sang-chul ordered his men to finish him off. In a desperate move, Myung-hoon threw his backpack into the crowd. Before anyone could react,
비승무기 고리 걸어도 나타나고 유머사 다가고 살아온 선배 남하고 오늘도 임에 오가고 바사타나가
explosion shook the area, leaving most of Moon Sang-chul's men incapacitated. Just as Myung-hoon prepared to escape with Hye-in, a large hand suddenly grabbed him. One of the men had survived the blast. Severely injured, Myung-hoon realized he couldn't fight them off. He urged Hye-in to run while he held the enemy off. Sirens from police cars echoed in the distance, signaling the arrival of help. Hye-in rushed outside to get assistance, but before Myung-hoon could free himself, Moon Sang-chul reappeared, shooting him without warning. Thinking quickly, Myung-hoon pulled the enemy in front of him to take the bullet. However, as soon as he stood up, Moon Sang-chul fired again, hitting him. Just as Moon Sang-chul was about to deliver the final blow to Myung-hoon, the police commander arrived. With Moon Sang-chul dead, the North Korean organization was finally destroyed. Though the commander sped toward the hospital in a last-ditch effort to save Myung-hoon, it was too late. Succumbing to his wounds, Myung-hoon passed away without ever getting to see his sister one last time. In the final scene, Hye-in, in gratitude for Myung-hoon's sacrifice, decided to adopt his sister. She vowed to give her a happy life in South Korea, where she would no longer have to live in fear. This way, Myung-hoon could finally rest in peace, knowing his sister was safe. The end.